Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to today's webinar, Stockscores Training Overview. Today I'm going to show you the tools of Stockscores, give you a little tour of the website and all the tools that we have, as well as a tour of the Education Center for those that have an interest in learning my active trading strategies, investor strategies. Perhaps you want to know more about the Stockscores Mentorship program. This webinar will cover that. So let's get right into it. What I'm going to talk about today, a little bit of my background in teaching, why I teach people how to trade, how long I've done it, and why getting educated before investing your own money in the market or trading in the market is important. I'll again give you a little tour of the Stockscores website, show you the market scan tool, the risk calculator, some of the charting tools that we have. I'll show you the Stockscores Education Center, which is an online resource for learning how to invest and trade the stock market. And I make that distinction because when we talk about investing, I'm talking about longer term type stuff where you're maybe managing your retirement portfolio, how to pick stocks for that. And then trading is for those who want to take a more active approach, perhaps make a career from trading the stock market. The concepts are very similar, but of course, the strategies differ, and I'll give you an idea, an overview of some of those strategies and what I do. I'll talk about the investor course, the active trader course. These are ways to get your membership for Stockscores.com, a very cost-effective way to learn how to do better in the market, how to make a living from the market, how to manage your retirement savings. We'll go over the mentorship program, how to register for these things, as I am doing some live teaching in November 2022. And so if you have an interest in having me teach you and sort of benefit from my 30 years of experience in trading, that is an option for you. All right, let's get right into it. So my background in teaching. I started trading 33 years ago. I started teaching about 23 years ago. And I began to teach because I had a lot of people asking me to do so. I had an investment club that I ran that had a few hundred members. And I was good at picking stocks and showing people sort of ways to identify opportunities in the market. And people didn't want to just know the answer. They wanted to know how I got to that point, how I was able to pick these hot stocks. So I created a course, my very first course 23 years ago, and I've taught people ever since. I tend to teach a couple of times a year nowadays. I used to teach a lot more. I don't do it as much anymore. But now all of that education is done online, which allows me to teach basically anyone in the world. I have students in North America, of course, but also Australia, Asia, Europe, all over the place. So who do I teach? Mostly retail investors, so normal people sitting at home managing their retirement portfolio, perhaps people that want to day trade the stock market, people that can maybe dedicate an hour a day towards swing trading the stock market and really improve their performance from these other styles of trading. So that's most of my students. However, in the past, I have been hired by large brokerage companies, large banks, to teach their clients. So I did a few years with Desjardins. I traveled across the country where I live, Canada, and taught their clients in all of the cities across Canada. I did something similar with TD back then it was TD Waterhouse, now it's TD Ameritrade. But Toronto Dominion Bank was another client for a couple of years. And again, I taught all of their clients across the country. I've also been hired by brokerages to teach their staff, their brokers that work for the brokerage, my methods. And I've even had a few institutional traders, people that were managing hundreds of millions of dollars, have taken some of my education and help them to improve their performance in the market. So what the point of all that is that I teach everyone from people that have never traded a stock in their life, totally newbies to the market, to those who are very sophisticated, who have many years of experience in institutional traders. Everyone can benefit no matter where you are in that learning process, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been trading for a long time. I'm certain that there's something that I will teach you will deliver you value, and that value goes far beyond what it costs to get educated. So why would you want to get educated? Well, I often say that stock trading and investing, they're simple, but they're not easy. The market tends to teach the lesson first, teach the lesson first, but give you the test first, give you the test first, but give you the lesson afterward. And learning to trade the market on your own is expensive. I started trading when I was 19 years old. I was a student at the University of Calgary in the business program, finance program, and I played a stock game. And in that stock game, I did quite well and I really enjoyed it. It was like a simulation where you had to pick stocks and try to get the best return. And I enjoyed that a lot. And so I decided that's something I wanted to do. And I went and studied everything I could about the stock market. The problem was back then, there was no one teaching others how to trade the stock market. Now, I was in business school. I was in the finance program. And so they taught the conventional way to analyze stocks and analyze markets. But I found that that didn't really work in terms of beating the market. I wasn't able to, get these market beating returns that I wanted to get. I didn't want to earn 8% a year in the market. I wanted to earn 100%. And so I sort of took it upon myself to learn everything I could. And most of what I do is self-taught. As I said in one of my previous webinars this past week, I reverse engineered the stock market. I looked at all the stocks that had done really well, and I figured out what the common characteristics were among those stocks early in their trends. And I developed a methodology and algorithms and pattern recognition that has gone on, here it is 30 years later, and I'm still doing very similar things to what I did 20 years ago. What differs over time is the tools that I use. The market is faster now than it once was because of technology. And so I've had to, stay ahead of the crowd by always innovating and always coming up with new tools. That process of learning, where I went from knowing nothing to being able to do really well in the market. At one point, I turned $30,000. This is when I was a university student. $30,000 into $500,000 in about 3 months, and all using the methods that I teach today. But it took me, 8 years to get good at it because I didn't have anyone to teach me. There were very few books out about trading. There were some books out about trading the futures market, but really nothing about the stock market. And so I had to learn it. And from that, I developed my approach, done well with it. I wrote books. I've written books about the stock market. I've created videos and online lessons and that sort of thing, which I'll show you later in this webinar. The other aspect of getting educated is not just reading a book or watching a video, but it's having a coach, a teacher that you can go to help you overcome uncertainty. It's hard to make decisions when you don't have confidence. And confidence comes from either someone telling you that, yes, this is the right way to do things, or from learning it and succeeding. Well, learning it and succeeding on your own takes a long time. And if you don't know someone that shows you how to do it, it takes you even longer because you just don't know what's possible. And so a big part of why I think getting educated from someone like me is good is I've done this for a long time. I know the tips and the tricks and the ways to get around the problems that inevitably occur and can help you get to that success point that much quicker. And so support when you take one of my educational products is always from me. I don't hire people to teach. I do all the teaching myself. I do all the support for my students myself. I don't teach a lot of people. It's less than 100 people per year. And that allows me to give a very personalized level of service where I can help someone get to where their goals are. I don't want to teach lots of people. I'm a trader first and foremost. That's what I love to do. I love teaching as well. I love developing strategies for the market. That's probably my favorite thing to do. And so those things all come together. And at the end of the day, I'm doing things that I enjoy, and I can help other people with success in the market and sort of pay it forward. And inevitably the benefit comes back to me because it's very rewarding when I have someone say, what, I quit my job and I'm now trading the stock market full time. I love to hear that. Or someone that says, hey, I took my wife on a cruise from some of the money I made in the stock market this year, and thank you very much for that. And I've had all of those kinds of things happen many, many times. I have a whole file of these emails that I get from people thanking me for what they've learned and that sort of thing. And that's a big part of why I do this. It's rewarding in that regard. Think about, for me, trading, you sit in front of a screen, it's a very solitary game. And I think you need to have some other way to get interactive with people and doing things for people. It's rewarding in other ways. All right. Now is a great time to be a trader. The stock market has evolved to the point from a technological standpoint where, you can run a business trading the stock market from your cell phone, and a laptop or an iPad. When I started trading, I had to sit in front of my desk at my computer. Well, now, I do that as well. I do sit in front of my computer quite a bit, but I also sometimes just take my phone and I can manage my holdings from a cell phone. I can sell stocks. I can buy stocks from my phone. It's easy because of technology. And the market is much more actively traded. It's much more liquid. It's more volatile, which is great for a trader. You want volatility. You can make money from the market going up. You can make money from the market going down. There's instruments out there to profit from both directions. So it is a great time to be a trader, to work from home on your own. I often travel and I can take my laptops with me and trade anywhere. As long as I have an internet connection and the desire, I can do that. So what do you need for success? Well, the first thing, and this is what I had to teach myself, is to know what to look for. Now, I can teach you what to look for, and that's done through our Stockscores Education Center, which I will show you later in this webinar. You need tools. I didn't want to use other people's tools because I felt if I was doing what everyone else does, then I can only get what everyone else gets. I've said that before. And so I created my own tools. I developed my own indicators, my own algorithms for identifying opportunities. And those tools, those algorithms, they give me an edge over the crowd. I'm ahead of most people, finding hot stocks earlier before most people find them. And so the tools that I've created are the Stockscores Market Scan, which I will show you today. We have a live analysis webinar that runs every day for day traders, for those that want to day trade. And I've created indicators for a program called TradeStation, which I'll show you today as well. So all of those things are my own concoction. I make them available to my students and my students only. You cannot get access to my Market Scan tool without being a student first. You cannot join Active Live, where you see my analysis screen in real time every day for day trading. And you cannot get my indicators for TradeStation. And it's so much cheaper to get educated from me. It's part of the program. But even if you have no desire to get the education, it's still cheaper just to get my TradeStation indicators. I've spent thousands, probably $20,000 developing my indicators for TradeStation. Well, you get that for my course included. Active Live, I've built tools that took me hundreds of hours and a lot of money in programming fees to build that tool. You get it for much less if you are a member of Stockscores, whether it's an investor member or an active trader member, and I'll explain that as I go on. Plus, you get support from me while you learn. I think that's very helpful. It doesn't have to be me. You can go get support from some other person that you trust, but just recognize that I've done this longer than just about everyone. I've done it for over 30 years. I've taught people for over 20 years, and I know how to do that well. I know how to teach. I know how to trade the market well. I understand it well, simply from putting in the time. I've seen people on the internet who have been trading for 2 years and think that they know enough to trade the stock market because they had some success during the hot market that we had after the COVID crash, from 2020 to 2022. They, just watching what they put out, they really don't know what they're doing, and they will not survive in all markets. It's easy to make money in a hot market, but it's a lot more difficult to consistently make money across all market conditions. Now, what do you have to bring? You have to have some money to trade with. Even if you have $10 million, you should start with no money to trade with initially, just practice and learn, and then start with $5,000, $10,000. And as you gain skill, as you gain confidence, you can increase your risk tolerance and and scale up the amount of capital you're using, and use the profits that you've made to put to risk on bigger trades as you go along. It takes discipline. I'll tell you the importance of the rules and following the rules. I'll tell you how to sort of hack your emotions so that you can maintain discipline, maintain focus, but you still have to do that. And you have to put in the work. You know, it takes time to learn. It's not a lot of work to learn. It doesn't take, years like it does to become a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. You can make as much money as those careers, and the learning time is quicker if you put in the work. And I'm there to help every day. We have that active live service. I have newsletters that go out. I do a free video every week, and it's all there to help you get to your goals, whether you want to manage your own money or trade the stock market. All right, so let's talk about the Stockscores Education Center. That is our online resource, which will be the place where you do most of your learning. And there's 3 core areas, actually 4. One of them is free to use, but the foundation area is for members, and it's where you learn the theory, the rules for how to read chart patterns, what are the elements of chart patterns, risk management. I'll show you this in just a moment. And then we have 2 areas for strategies. The investor area gives you the rules for when to buy investments, longer term trades in the stock market, rules for when to exit those investments. And then we have the active trader area, where you learn the rules for when to buy, when to sell, if you want to be a more active trader, maybe a day trader, maybe a swing trader. Those are more for the people that want to really have a steady income from the stock market, maybe even make a career out of trading the stock market. I have lots of students that have made that transition. So let's jump into the Stockscores website, and I'll show you this now. So if I go to Trader Training and the Education Center right there, once I'm in here, you can see at the top is the Getting Started area. So this is a free area to access. Anyone can go into this. And I've got, I don't know, maybe 10 videos here on different concepts, all fairly basic. So the basics of making your first trade, what do the Stockscores indicators do? What are they based on? How to use the charting on Stockscores. What are the basics of stock charts? What's a candlestick chart? What's the volume indicator? All that kind of stuff. A little tour of the market scan tool and some of the other tools on Stockscores. We have a watch list creator and a portfolio creator tool, which are free to use. Anyone can use those. The market scan is a member tool. Charting on Stockscores is free, so you can pull up the chart of whatever stock you like and see the indicators, the Stockscores indicators for that chart as well. Now, once you're a member of Stockscores, then you can start to learn the good stuff. And this is the theory area. This is called Foundation. And it gives you the foundation to understand my strategies. So it's the rules of how to read chart patterns. So we talk about the 6 elements of chart patterns, predictive chart patterns. What is a price channel? Risk management is a really important area, and I talk about that. The expected value of the trade. That's probably not something most people are aware of. We've maybe heard of chart pattern reading, but what is the expected value of the trade? Well, there's a written lesson. If I click on this little folder, it'll bring up the written component that explains the concept. And then there's a video done by me, which teaches the rules around that concept and the concept itself. And you can watch this as often as you want. You can watch it from a cell phone, as long as you have internet access. Watch it from an iPad, a computer, whatever. And you can watch it as many times as you want. There's no limit. People that took my course 15 years ago are able to still watch all this stuff, and I've upgraded it many times over the years. So I always try to keep things up to date and fresh. Now, also within the Education Center is the strategy area. So here's the investor strategies. So these are the strategies that I would use for buying stocks longer term. And there's a lesson here on the exit strategy. And again, there's a written lesson. So here's the bottom fishing strategy, which is one good one for now because the market is turning around after being weak for quite some time. We're starting to see some sectors of the market do better. Cruise lines, airlines, energy's strong again. And so we're starting to see this turn, and this strategy is all about getting the turn, buying stocks on sale when they start to move up again. You can also watch the video. There it is. And you can print these things out if you like. You'd rather read it off of paper. It's all up to you. The active trader area gives my day and swing trading strategies. So you can see here the swing trading strategy is called the Simple Swing 13, the day trader strategy, intraday pullbacks, and I've got a couple of new ones coming in the next week or two. I've been developing a couple of new strategies that work well when the market's trending lower. One's called a hit and run, and another one is called abnormal echo. The intraday pullbacks is also one that we're doing a lot these days. It focuses on stocks that can move up even though the market is moving down. And there's a few of those every day. And these are the strategy documents and videos where you learn that stuff. The active trader exit strategy, rules for when to exit. And I'm going to be refreshing some of this. I've been fine tuning some of the rules, making it even better. And so I'll be redoing some of the lessons from this section in the very short term. So anyone that purchases the course now is going to get that, obviously. But even if you bought my course 10 years ago and you want to see the latest and greatest, I always, I don't charge extra for old stuff or for new stuff that replaces the old stuff. It's an ongoing thing. All right, so that is the Education Center. Now then we also have some tools on Stockscores. We have the Market Scan tool, which is the primary tool that you will use if you are an investor and a swing trader. Not so much for day trading. We use other tools for day trading, but the Market Scan tool is very helpful for investors. So let me show you that tool now. I go back to the Stockscores website, go to the Market Scan, select Market Scan, and I'm going to build my own scan first. Now we have presets, but I'm just going to show you how you can build your own scan. So I could do a search for all Canadian stocks. And some of you are probably aware that I really like to look for abnormal activity. And by abnormal activity, I mean price gains that stand out, volume that stands out. That's the core of many of my strategies. And that's why I built the Market Scan, because I couldn't find tools to do that for me in the way that I wanted. And so I was wasting a lot of time trying to find the hot stocks. Now I've got this tool, the Market Scan, that helps me find these very quickly. So I could say all stocks on the Canadian market that had an abnormal day up and traded abnormal volume. This would be on Friday. I'm doing this webinar on a Saturday. I could say I only want stocks above $1. I could add in a number of trades, at least 500 trades a day, so we know that it's fairly liquid for a Canadian stock. That's probably about good. Run the Market Scan, and it found 10 stocks that meet those criteria. And you'll notice that it was very quick. It's going through every single stock that trades in Canada, and it spits out these 10 that meet those criteria. So it's a great time-saving tool. Well, now I'm going to view those charts. I have two choices for viewing. I can view as a slideshow, or I can view as a gallery. Well, I'm going to go slideshow so I can show you the charts in full size. So there is a full-size chart of Taseko mines. A lot of miners were up on Friday. Gold prices were up. US dollar was down. And so a lot of these stocks moved up. And then the final thing that I'm looking for is, does it have the right pattern? Well, I can see that my sentiment stock score is above 60. And for some of my investor strategies, that's important. You can see that it's been, below 60 for a long time, ever since the market on this stock broke down right there. It's been below 60. And that's an important rule. We want for our investor trades, we want that stock score to be above 60. Usually some strategies will take it lower, sometimes 50. But in this particular strategy, that's nice. And I can see it's breaking from a predictive pattern called a pennant. So I can see the price action there. I can see the volume is a little bit abnormal, and that's why my scores are jumping up here. Something is going on. The problem is the trend into the pennant was down. And so breakouts from pennants when the downtrend was into the pennant is not as ideal as if you had an uptrend into that pattern. So that's a bit of a negative. And you're also going to have some resistance, a little bit of resistance there, although that's not major resistance. But more so here is going to limit the upside. And a big part of A good trade is not only having a signal that the stock is likely to go higher, but having enough reward for the risk. And this is a little bit tight. It's just about 2 times risk, which is what I want as a minimum, but it's a little close. So looking at this, I would give this trade a 6 out of 10. It means I think it has a 60% chance of working, but I like things to be more like 70% chance. I'm always striving to be right about 70% of the time over the long term. Not over the last 3 trades, but over the last 100 trades. That's my goal. And that's how every investor should really approach the market. We're never going to be right all of the time. And because we're not going to be right all of the time, you always have to have a plan for what to do when you're wrong. And so in this case, if this trade is wrong, and again, I don't like this enough to buy it, but I would establish support there at $1.39 because that is where support is. If it went down below that, then I would sell it and take the small loss. I don't want to take big losses. I always want to have small, manageable losses and trade that way. All right, so that's one chart, and I can just go on to the next one using these little navigation buttons and just going through looking for the kind of chart patterns that I want to see. Now you can see here that there's some issues with some of these charts. Before the computer locked up, I was just looking at some charts here. And what we're trying to do is just identify patterns, right? So we have the abnormal price action there. We have optimism. We talked about that on Thursday. The problem is there's still resistance there. So these are the things that you would learn in the foundation. And then in the rules for this particular strategy, you would know that that's a no-go because it hasn't broken through that resistance and there's a little too much volatility there. And as we go through a lot of these mining stocks, you're going to see that over and over again. So many of them are just breaking up into resistance. So if you said to me, gold stock's really strong on Friday, should I be a buyer of these? Generally speaking, no. There's the odd one that looks better, but generally they don't have a great pattern yet. All right. So just to sort of give you the link of how everything works, you have, you study things in the foundation. That's your theory. And then you study the strategy in the investor section. And then you apply it with the market scan tool. And that's what we've done so far. Now, once you find something that looks good, so let's just go look at an example of a stock that was good from last week, QUOT. So you can see on this chart, you've got the abnormal volume, you've got the abnormal price movement. You're breaking through resistance. You have optimism, rising bottoms. You recently have broken the downward trend line. So these things all come together to make the chart better. Now notice that the sentiment stock score is 67. We like it to be greater than 60 for this particular strategy. Other strategies, not always the case. Notice that when the stock was moving lower, it was always below 50 even, right? See that green line's always been below, and it's only come above that 60 mark in the last few days. And the reason it has come above 60 is because we're getting the spikes upward in the blue line. The blue line is called the signal stock score. And so that brings the average up. The green line is just an average of the blue line to smooth it out. And so why is that happening? Well, because the stock score system puts points for things like rising bottoms. So we've got rising bottoms, that gets points. We broke through some resistance, that gets points. We had an abnormal update. That gets points. We had an abnormal volume supporting the update. That also gets points. And so collectively, these points add up, and it takes the elements of good chart patterns, because most people don't have the expertise to learn the patterns right away. So what I wanted to do is simplify reading a stock chart by giving good things positive points and taking away negative things with negative points, right? So when the tops are falling, that's negative. So it loses a lot of points for that. When it's going down through support, it loses points for that. These are all just simple elements of reading chart patterns. We don't have to necessarily know all of those things because the stock scores indicators will do that for you. Now, again, I want to emphasize the stock scores are for investing. We don't use them for day trading because the stock scores are calculated on the daily interval. When we're day trading, we're looking at the intraday interval. So if I look at a stock from last week that was fairly hot, or the last little while, here is a stock that came alive right there, and I bought it right here, maybe a little bit higher. And, it went from 70 cents to $1.40 within 2 days. Well, the stock scores don't help us on that. If we go look at the stock scores on this chart, actually they are strong, but often they're not. Often for day trades, they're not. This one is, actually, you know what? It's not actually above 60. It's still below 60 right there. See that? And why is that? Because the sellers are still in control in the long term. But sometimes we can buy a stock in the very short term, even though the long-term picture isn't very good. And that's why day trading has been quite effective through the market crash that we've had, because there's still every day there's some stocks that go up. They just don't go up for very long. They go up for a day or two. And so for a day trader, that's been good. There are sectors of the market that have done okay through the correction. And then there's inverse ETFs that have obviously done well during the correction. So there's always a place to make money. You just have to know how to find it. All right. So that's the market scan tool. Now, when we first did this, I built a scan, right? I turned all these things off. Most people aren't really interested in having, knowing how to do that. It's a possibility. If you want to set up your own scans, you can certainly do that. But what I've done for my students is created market scans presets. So let's say I am a longer term investor. I only want to do the work on the weekend, and I don't want to spend more than 15 minutes a week to manage my portfolio. All right, well, there's a scan for that. So you go down to Stockscores Simple Weekly. I can select the US market, and it's put in the presets for that scan. Right? And if I wanted to, I could change some of the settings. I could say I only want stocks between $1 and $10 if I didn't want to look at higher price stocks, and then run the scan. And it found 36 that meet those criteria. Now, the last time I viewed charts in the slideshow chart viewer, but if I wanted to speed up the process, once I've practiced reading charts and I get good at it, then you can go to the gallery viewer, which allows you to look at 10 charts per page. And so now I'm able to go through these quicker. And I notice right away, I've got a stock breaking from a good pattern here. This is GET, Gaylord Entertainment. They own a bunch of hotels and things like that down in Florida, I believe. I've stayed in their hotels before. And I see it's breaking out. All right, so that looks interesting. But for this strategy, which is the Stockscores Simple Weekly strategy, I make my chart the 3-year weekly chart. That's the chart that matters. And there I see a pretty good pattern. I see a stock breaking through resistance from optimism with some abnormal volume or some abnormal price action. Volume isn't really abnormal, so that's a bit of a concern. And so going through those things, knowing what the rules are, the other thing that stands out is I can see the liquidity isn't very good. It only traded 536 times on Friday, which is pretty low for a US listed stock. It's got a very good dividend yield, 6.8% yield. So maybe that is, you'd have to check to make sure it can keep that up, because that's a pretty high yield. So when I look at this overall, I would give this a 6.5 out of 10, which means I think it has a 65% chance of moving higher in the weeks and months to come. Now, there's a chance that that's wrong, so I have to have a plan for where to take the loss if I'm wrong. So I go to the 6-month chart, I blow it up, and I can see that support on this stock is $1.70. So if it were to close below $1.69, I would say I'm wrong, I get out and I take a small loss. And then we use the difference between the entry price and the stop loss price to calculate our position size. And all of those concepts are taught in the Education Center. So if I go back to the Education Center, go to the foundation area. So I just showed you a pattern called an ascending triangle. That pattern is taught right here. I talked about risk management and how to size the position. That's taught in that pattern right there, or that video right there. In order to understand predictive chart patterns, you have to understand the 6 elements of chart patterns. So that's all there. That particular chart setup did not do anything with price channels. It's not important. But eventually we're going to have to know when to sell. So there's the exit signals video. You need to have an understanding of the concept of expected value of the trade. And that particular trade has a positive expected value. Just, you need to understand those terms. How to use stops. Remember I said we're going to pick a stop loss point at $1.69. Well, this video and lesson explain that. All right, so it's all interconnected. You learn first, and then you start using the tool, you find a stock, you apply what you learned, and then you monitor those for exits. All right, now let's get through some of these other tools. So that's the market scan. Now the charting tools on Stockscores are free. So you can pull up the chart of any stock you want. It doesn't cost anything. So I can pull up the chart of Microsoft and I can see the score. What's the score right now? Ugly, 30. Okay, that's a stock to avoid. I may day trade Microsoft, but longer term, I would not want to touch this stock. And notice if we go to a 3-year weekly chart, it's been going lower since basically here, and the stock scores have been below 60 since then, right? The upward trend from that started after the COVID crash, so there's the COVID crash, it got positive there. Look at when the stock scores got positive. Okay, they were negative for like a couple of months there. Remember, this is a weekly chart. And so through the duration of this upward trend, the stock scores have been pretty good the whole time. We had a sell signal, and again, applying the exit signals lesson, we had a sell signal right here when we went parabolic, we built falling tops, and then we broke the upward trend line. So we didn't sell at the top. I never tried to sell at the top. It's impossible to do it well consistently. But we sold here, sell signal there at about $315 a share. Now the stock's 220. So you avoided, what is that, a 35% downdraft? Simply by having some basic skills, understanding what trend lines are, understanding the importance of falling tops, using the stock scores indicators. They've been negative for, well, since early January. All right, and all of those concepts, again, are in the Education Center. And you don't have to be a day trader to take advantage of these things. If you just want to manage your portfolio better, focus on the investor section. But if you do want to actively trade the market, then there's lessons for that. And there's other tools for that, which I'll be showing you in a moment. Okay, the risk calculator is another tool in the Stockscores website. So if I go to charts and go down to risk calculator, I can determine position size. So if we're buying a stock at $1.90 and we're going to plan to lose if it goes below $1.69, and we don't want to lose more than $200 on any trade, and we pay $10 in commissions, click on submit, it tells me to buy 905 shares. And then on the right side of this tool is calculating the risk reward. So if I bought 905 shares and I entered at $1.90 and I exited ultimately at $3.20, let's say, 6 months down the road, that's when you exit. Your original stop was at $1.69. Your commissions were $10. Click on submit. It calculates my reward for risk ratio of 1 to 6.19. Right? That has some importance for this particular, well, for all strategies. We always want to understand what our reward for risk ratio is. And that represented a $1,167 profit for a trade where there was $200 of risk. All right, so these are all things that are important to how my approach works. So that's the risk calculator. Now, then we've got Stockscores indicators for TradeStation. So because my computer died, I don't have TradeStation running. So just give me a second. I'm going to fire it up here. I'll just enter in my password. It'll take a minute or so to open. So while we're doing that, I'll just come back to this. Another part of the Stockscores service for active traders is something called the Active Live service. So if you are interested in watching my analysis screen through the day and listening to me give you my watch list in the opening half an hour, the stocks that we're going to focus on today, and then at the end of every day, I do a half an hour wrap up where I teach something We go through the winners of the day. We review trades for the day. It's constant learning. I'm trying to do this every day, every day that the market's open. I take a few days off where I might not be there for the second half of the day, but within the year, it's like very few days that I'm not there. The service runs every day. It's just there's a few days when I don't actually talk a whole lot, but most days I'm there. All right, so that's active live. So now TradeStation should be running. So here's TradeStation. And if we pull up Microsoft, you will see that I have this chart up here is a 1 minute chart. I'm going to make this in yellow. So this is a 1 minute chart. This is a 13-minute chart. And this is a daily chart. Right? And I've set all this up. And you'll also notice that there's little colored dots and there's lines on these charts. Those are all my indicators for TradeStation. So these little plus signs and minus sign or plus signs like those show inflection points. It's an important part of what I do is being able to see inflection points. And then there's these lines here. This is called a Stockscores trend line. Whoops. So a Stockscores trend line, I'll just draw it, the important one, which is this one right here. And then notice, and it's a little bit hard to see, but there's a little yellow dot there. I can zoom in on this a little bit, I think. No, it's not letting me zoom in. But anyway, there is a little tiny, you can see it on my screen really easily. On yours, it might be harder to see. There's a little yellow dot there. So that yellow dot represents an indicator called an action candle. So an action candle tells me that the buyers were aggressively buying the stock just for that 1 minute. But the fact that it did it as it was breaking this downward trend line with an inflection point that was higher than the previous inflection point, and with a strong, tall candle, that gave me a buy signal. This is a strategy called a wave strategy. Okay, so we buy there. Now, Microsoft is an expensive stock. A lot of people would just buy the option because they don't want to put out a lot of cash for that trade. And Microsoft has very liquidly traded options. So you buy a call option and easily, with $1,000 in the call option, I don't know exactly, but it probably made $1,000 by the end of the day. All right. So those are the Stockscores indicators for TradeStation. And for my active trader students, I email them a bundle of indicators that they can import into this program. Again, I want to emphasize, I don't own TradeStation. It's just a platform that I use, but I've created my own indicators for TradeStation. When you subscribe to TradeStation, it doesn't give you these lines. It doesn't give you these little things. It doesn't give you the pink dots and the yellow dots. That's my addition to TradeStation. All right. So what does the investor course give you access to? It gives you access to the foundation lessons in the Stockscores Education Center. We showed that already. It gives you access to the investor strategies in the Education Center. It gives you access to the market scans. So if we go back to Stockscores, go to the market scan and just look here. See all these investor scans right here? So you get access to all of these. Now there's a bunch of extras here, like these ones. We don't actually use these. These are old scans that I may have taught in the last 20 years. And I keep them there because some people still like them. But the ones that are focused on in the Education Center are the ones with the asterisk. So each one of these, so for example, Abnormal Breaks Canada, that strategy, okay, if I click on it, it puts in the presets for me. I don't have to know how to set up the market scan tool. But that lesson on what that strategy is in the Education Center. I go down to Investor, and you'll see Abnormal Breaks right there. And the only thing that differs between the Canadian and the US version is liquidity. For the US market, we have a higher threshold for how actively the stock trades. Other than that, they're the same scan. So again, if I go back to the market scan and select Abnormal Breaks Canada, run the scan, there's 28 stocks that on Friday met the requirements of that strategy. Step one was to do the scan. Step two is to inspect the charts. And so I go through these charts and I'm looking for a breakout from a good pattern with abnormal activity. Today it's making abnormal activity. You can see that. right? But it actually also made abnormal activity right here. And that was the day to be a buyer of that stock. See the volume there? See the price movement? And then this pattern here is something called an ascending triangle. It broke up from that at 38 cents. Stop loss would be at about 33 cents. And on Friday, it closed at 53 cents. So if you bought 1,000 shares, not a lot, that would cost you $380. And today it's worth $530. And that's in 2 weeks, not even a week and a half. If you bought 10,000 shares, it cost you $3,800. And today it's worth $5,300, right? So on a reward for risk basis, which is an important metric, it's up 3 times risk. And if I go, so remember the numbers, we bought at 38, support at 33, and currently at 53. If I go to the risk calculator, and I go in here, and I bought 10,000 shares, my entry price was 0.38. My exit price, we'll just use today's closing price, Friday's closing price, 0.53. Stop loss was 0.33, I think I said. And commission was $10. Click submit. It tells me that my reward for risk ratio is 1:3. And I've got a $1,500 profit right now, right? That's exactly what I showed you on the chart. This calculator helps you do that. So hopefully you're starting to get a sense of how all of these tools connect to one another. I haven't shown you all of the tools. There's all kinds of different things on the website. There's a sector watch tool. You can create a portfolio. You can create a watch list of stocks that you want to view on a regular basis. If you want to know symbols, there's a symbol search. I'll let you know that Canadian symbols always have a prefix. So if you want to look at Bank of Montreal on the Canadian market, you have to type in T dot for Toronto and then BMO for Bank of Montreal. Click enter. There's your Bank of Montreal chart. If I wanted to see the New York Stock Exchange listing for Bank of Montreal, I would just type in BMO without the T, and there's the US listing. Okay, and you can see right here, it says New York Stock Exchange. If I type in T.BMO, then you can see that it's the TSX listing. If you're doing venture stocks, you put in a V dot in front. If you're doing Canadian Stock Exchange stocks, you put a .CN after the symbol. All right, all of that's explained in the Getting Started area. Okay, one of these videos goes through all that. Charting on Stockscores, I think it does that, or charting basics maybe. All right, now you can add indicators to a chart. So I can pull up the Microsoft chart, and I could go into down below here, chart options. I can add moving averages and the stock scores and all kinds of different things with this tool. I can also change the chart. If I want to have an interactive chart so I can see the prices on any particular day, I can choose interactive. And now as I scroll from left to right, I can see what the prices were on those days because they're changing up here. And I can add indicators. I can draw lines on these charts. So I can draw a line there. It's really quite a cool extra tool, and that's the interactive chart on Stockscores. They load a little quicker because they have a lot more going. So when I'm doing a market scan, I'm always viewing the charts from the market scan in the normal chart. But if I want to do more detailed analysis, then sometimes I'll go into the interactive chart because there I can draw, Fibonacci lines and target lines and risk reward lines. It's all there within that tool. All right. So that's a little sort of tour of the Stockscores website, a quick show of what TradeStation does for you and what the Stockscores indicators for TradeStation does for you. And here's a rundown of what you get with the investor course. Big important part is email support from me. When you're learning, it's nice to have someone to sort of fall back on and get some help. I help people for a month or two, and then, they don't need my help that much. But 3 years from now, if you have a question, just email me. I don't teach a lot of people. I don't have a lot of students because I don't want to. I don't want this to be a big company with, 100 employees. It's not my goal. I'm a stock trader. I share these tools with people because sharing them has some reward, but it also covers the cost. It costs me just to have Stockscores data for the website It's $5,000 a month to have that data feed. So I don't want to pay that myself, but by having members paying $300 a year, that's all it costs to keep your membership going. It's $300 a year. That's what pays for the data and hosting the website and all of the things that are up. Been around for over 20 years. The price has always been $300 a year. I've never changed it. It's not my goal to, again, create this big education company, because first and foremost, I'm a stock trader and I have a small group of people that follow what I do, and I'm happy with that. It's enough because I have other ways of making money. Now, the process, if you are an investor student, we kind of went through this, but you do the market scan, you inspect the charts from the market scan. When you see a good chart, you apply risk management to size your position. You enter the trade, you monitor the trade for the exit signals. You can do that with the watch list creator. When you see a sell signal, which I've taught you in the course material, you exit. And then it's a good idea to keep a journal of your trades so that you're always learning from the trades that you've made. Now, the active trader course includes all of that. So you can see that you get the investor, you get the foundation lessons, but you also get the active trader strategies. Active trader strategies are for people that want to day trade or swing trade. If you want to hold stocks for a few hours to up to maybe a couple of weeks, that's the active trader strategies. The active trader strategies are in the trader training area. You go to Education Center, go down to active trader, and they're all there, right? So that's where you learn them. And then you have access to the tool TradeStation with my indicators. Or if you don't want to run TradeStation, most people actually don't. I shouldn't say most people. Many people don't. You can monitor my service called Active Live, right? Because only people that have taken the Active Trader course can participate in Active Live. It's a monthly subscription, and it's basically watching my analysis screen with my coaching to identify and execute day and swing trades. And again, you also get my proprietary real-time indicators for TradeStation. For those of you that want to run TradeStation, I think it's an awesome program. I encourage everyone to use it, but you don't have to. TradeStation costs about $99 US a month. So that's your overhead for running a trading business. Active Live is $245 a month, Canadian. This is US. You will, this is great value because you get so much coaching. It's easy to pay for this in one trade. If I give you one trade in an entire month, that's a good trade, you'll pay for that. So you have to not worry about the cost. You have to think about the benefit. So what is the process for the active trader? We start the day with a look at what the market factor is. Is the market helping us or hindering us? Because it determines what strategies and how aggressive we're going to be and that sort of thing. We then monitor the market for entry signals. So for example, the day trader strategy, we're watching for action candles. You can watch those on Active Live, or you can watch that on TradeStation, or you can do it on both. Many people do it on both. When you see a signal, you inspect the chart to make sure it has the right pattern. I teach you what those patterns are. Again, you apply your risk management to size your positions. You enter the trade. You monitor the trade for an exit signal. When you see one, you exit. And then again, it's a good idea to journal your trades just to track how things go. Now, what is Active Live? You're watching me create and monitor the market for day trades. So most of it's automated. I've automated the computer to do most of the work. In the opening half an hour, I tell you what the market factor is. I build a watch list for you and give you some advice on trades that I see in that opening half an hour. Some days I go longer because I do extra coaching a few days a month where I actually will tell you buy signals as they're happening because I want you to learn, right? So it's real time. This is what we've learned in the material on the website, but here's us actually doing it in real time. And so I do a few days of that every month. I call them extended sessions, coaching sessions. But my goal is not to tell you what to buy and sell, because what if I get hit by a truck, right? Like, you have to learn this. You have to be independent. And so I'm always trying to teach you to be independent. so that you can do this on your own. Everyone in their first week is completely lost and kind of frustrated. By week 2, you're like, okay, this actually isn't that hard. A month in, you're like, yeah, I understand what to do. And within 2 months, it's pretty simple. It's like anything. It just takes a little bit of time to learn. But I'm holding your hand every market day to get you to that place. And I always tell my students, in your first week, do not make any trades. Just watch, just learn, ask me questions, listen to what I tell you. You'll get there. It's not that hard, but it's overwhelming at first, because everything when it's new is overwhelming at first. But again, step by step, we take baby steps, one step at a time, so I can get you to the point where you're independent, where you don't need me. And it's always the case. People ask me a lot of questions at the start, and I'm happy to answer them. That's why I do it every day. And then eventually they're just quiet. And every once in a while I hear from them that said, oh, I made $1,200 today. Thanks, that was awesome, whatever. That's what we're trying to get to. Okay, so Active Live is a real-time live webinar. So just like you're watching a webinar today, you log in 5 minutes before the market opens and you keep it running all day long. Many of my students only trade the opening hour or the opening 2 hours, and then they're kind of gone. They might come back later in the day. You don't have to be there all day. It runs all day because there's signals that come all day, but most of the signals, as we talked about on Thursday, they come in the opening hour or 2. It's all automated. It's actually cool to watch. The screen is moving and it's all automatic. And the computers are doing most of the work. 90% of the work is done by the computer. The last 10%, which is you making the trade, that's done by you. And you learn step by step. You slowly increase your risk. Start with $0 of risk, just practicing it at the beginning. And when you have a question, when you're feeling lost, I'm there. And it's only me. I don't have other people that work for me to answer those questions. My employees are making sure the website runs and all that kind of stuff, but I'm the trading expert, and you're only going to deal with me on trading questions. This service, Active Live, is $245 a month. It's only available to Stockscores Active Trader members, and this is how it looks. When you look at this, you're probably like, I have no idea what that means. But to someone who's been on Active Live for a month, they know exactly what all of these windows mean. And they're all for different strategies. So this is for intraday pullbacks. This is for the day trader strategy. This is for swing trading, where you want to hold stocks for a few days. This is how we build our watch list, which is what this is. This also builds this list, and this also builds this list, which is for the H&R strategy. These are signals from the watch list. These things are all connected. We're always watching the market chart down in the bottom right. This is a summary of the biggest movers of the day, because that sometimes is a good place to look for stocks that are worth watching. So it's all there for you, and it blinks and changes all throughout the day. Now, the mentorship is for people that really want to learn this quicker. They want to get up and running as fast as possible and have my support through the process. So there's 14 meetings, about an hour long each one. And if you want someone to hold your hand through the learning process, this is the way to do it. Everything that I teach is in the online material. So it's not like extra, but I teach it like I would teach a class. So I used to teach 2 days at a university to go through everything for 8 hours a day. That's how we did it. So it was, with lunch, it was 14 hours. Well, I can do that same thing online with 14 online meetings. We do generally 1 a week, sometimes 2 a week. And I teach a concept. So for example, one of our first meetings is on chart patterns. So I'll teach that. I give you some homework. And then, the week later, let's say, we move on to the next topic. And then with this one, it's mostly focused on more active trading, because that's where I think it's a little bit more challenging to learn. It takes a little bit more effort. And so we focus more on day trading and swing trading with this. I still teach the investor stuff, but the investor stuff is quite a bit simpler. I only need to do 1 lesson on that. It's the day trading and the swing trading where you're having to learn to think quicker and better processes, because you have to act quicker. That's where the mentorship helps a lot. With mentorship, you get a month of Active Live. It's limited to 20 students. So if you have an interest in that, you should register fairly quickly, and I will show you how to do that in a moment. Okay, it's really for those who aspire to make a living, whether it's part-time or full-time. You're going to school so that you can make a living. So this is the, yeah, by the way, I know that that active live screen was incredibly small. That's not the point. Just understand that when you're watching that during the trading day, it's a lot easier to see than what we showed today. So I'll just leave this up for a moment. I've had a couple of questions come in. I'm just trying to, and some of them have scrolled up, so I may have missed some. So when you have some time, could you talk about the platform an investor would use to execute the trades? All right, so I'll address that. So one of the things that you need to have if you are going to play the stock market is you need to have a brokerage account. And the brokerage account is where you make the trade. So if you've never made a trade before, then you need to, go through that basic lesson on that. I use a broker called Interactive Brokers. They're global, so they're all over the world. Another good choice in Canada is TD Thinkorswim, Questrade, Qtrade. Those are all alternatives. But again, I use Interactive Brokers. In the US, you can also use Interactive Brokers. But if I was in the US, I would probably use TradeStation because that's the platform I like to use. As a Canadian, I cannot open a brokerage account with a US broker, so I can't have a brokerage account with TradeStation. I can subscribe to their tool, which I do, but I'm not able to have a brokerage account with them. Now, if you're in the UK or if you're in the US, obviously, you can have a brokerage account with TradeStation and trade through them, and then you don't have to pay that $99 a month fee. You get the platform for free. Someone's saying they have their funds in BMO Investor Line. That's fine for investing. If you're day trading, it can be a bit slow because it's a web-based platform. They may have a software platform. I'm not totally sure. I don't know what every broker's offering. But if you're going to be an investor, web-based platforms where you go to a web page to do your trades, that's totally fine. If you're a day trader, you need a platform that's faster. And so you need something like Interactive Brokers, TD, Thinkorswim, Questrade. They have software you actually install to allow you to trade a lot quicker. When you're investing, time is not a big thing. When you're day trading, you got to fill your order within 3 or 4 seconds sometimes. So it's better to be quicker. Okay. What trading platform service do you use? So I use TradeStation for analysis, TradeStation and Stockscores for analysis, and I use Interactive Brokers as my broker. Okay. So we've got some live training coming up starting a week and a half. What is it today, the 5th? So yeah, 9 days. Monday, November 14th, we're going to do a 1.5 hour class on the basics. And we're going to do another one on Tuesday. So I'm going to teach you all the basic theory Monday, November 14th and Tuesday, November 15th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's 9 o'clock Eastern time. We'll go about an hour and a half each of those nights. Okay. And that's going to walk you through all of the theory. And then the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of that week, we are going to practice. We're going to apply the strategies by doing market scans. So each night, I'm going to do a webinar where I'm going to log into Market Scan, and we're just going to run a bunch of different scans. And the first time, I'll do it for you. I'll say, okay, this chart was good here, but not here, and I'll just explain all of that. And then the second night, we're going to go through it slower, and I'm going to make you write down which ones you think are good, just on your own piece of paper. And then we'll go through the scan again, and I'll then tell you which ones I like, and you can compare. Okay, I liked the one that Tyler liked, or I liked one that Tyler didn't like, what was missing, and I'll try to teach that way. So it's very hands-on, practical application of the strategies. This is for investors, all right? So this is theory for everyone. This is strategies for investors. For those that take the active trader course, your sort of application is you get a free month of active live. You can use it anytime you want. You have to use it for a month, so you can't join mid-month. You have to say, okay, I'm going to use it January. So the month of January, you can be on there as often as you like, and you'll see in real time how we apply the day trading strategies, the swing trading strategies. I pick stocks. I try to say, this is a good one. This is not a good one. I give them scores. I'll be like, this is a 7 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10, just to try to get across what you've learned in the online material. Okay, and all of these classes, all of the investor and foundation classes, those are all recorded. So you can watch them as many times as you want. There's a lot of information covered, and you can, if you miss one, you can watch it later. It's better to watch it live because you can ask questions live, but you can also ask questions by email. Okay, pricing. I haven't raised prices on my courses for at least 10 years. I don't even know the last time. So the price is $24.95 for the investor course, $34.95 for the active trader course, but of course that includes this, so you get both. $54.95 for the mentorship course, and you get both. This also gets you those 14 hourly classes. Let's say you did the investor course last year and you want to upgrade to the active trader course now, it's $1,250. If you took the active trader course and you want to upgrade to the mentorship, it's $2,000. Here's the important thing though, prices are going up after this course. So November will be the last time I do the live training at the current prices. They're going to go up January 1st. I haven't raised prices in a long time, and costs are going up a little bit. So I'm just going to increase the prices a little bit next year. So now is a good time to take advantage of this. So how do you take advantage of the free training that's coming up in November? You have to register by Thursday of this coming week. So Thursday, November 10th by 11 o'clock Pacific time. And that will get you the overview class for free, the investor market scanning for free. If you do the active trader course, it gets you a free month of active live. If you do the mentorship course, you get another free month of active live. So that's all included. Now, if you took my course in any time in the last 20 years and you would like to redo these lessons, the overview and the investor stuff, you can do that. It's $195 to repeat it. Okay, and I'll show you where you can register for that in a moment. So I'm going to just launch a poll quickly, and then I'm going to just show you some other stuff on the website. So just bear with me for a moment. And I know some of you have already answered this question. If you already answered it, you don't need to answer it again. But if you would like a follow-up email with the, if you want to do a follow-up email from me on the course details and how to register, just say yes to one of these. And if you don't want to, then say no, and I won't bug you. Last webinar, you talked about leveraging capital to make trades. Is this using call options, and do I need a margin account for this? You can leverage with options, yes, but what I was speaking about is when you're day trading, a brokerage house that focuses on day traders, like Interactive Brokers, will give you 3-to-1 leverage. So what that means is if you have $10,000 of capital in your account, when you're day trading, you can buy up to $30,000 of positions. So you get 3-to-1 leverage. When you hold overnight, your leverage drops to 2-to-1. So it's just a way to sort of leverage up the amount of capital you have. Now, if you're wanting to trade options, then you would still need a margin account, yes, for options. And so for stocks like Microsoft, Amazon, those large cap stocks, that's a good tool to use if you don't have a lot of capital, is to trade options. And I do teach the basics of options in my class, but I generally don't use options myself. What is your success rate for day and swing trading? I try to, my strategies when I test them and use them, they're 60 to 70% depending on market conditions. And I've got data on all that. When you're a student of mine, you get these big spreadsheets with all these data points so that you can analyze the data to figure out what will work well for your capital, for your time. That's part of Active Live, is I upload this spreadsheet every day, which gives you some of that data to see what's working. Do you trade mostly US or Canadian stocks? Do I have to have a US account? I personally trade mostly US stocks because I day trade and that's where the action is. For investing, Canadian tend to like to trade the Canadian market, so you can certainly do that. If you want to be a day trader, I would encourage you to trade US markets. You don't have to have US money if you're a Canadian. You can have capital in a Canadian account, and that will give you buying power in a US account. So you actually don't have to go back and forth with currency exchange on every trade, provided you're with a broker that supports that. So for example, Interactive Brokers, if you put, $100,000 in a Canadian dollar account, you'll have $70,000 of US dollar buying power. And then of course, if you leverage it 3-to-1, you'll have $210,000 of buying power. And these platforms all show that. So whether you have $5,000 or $5 million, it'll show you what your buying power is for the currency you're trading at. How much cash is good to start with, and how can we buy fractional shares? I'm not too familiar with fractional shares. It's not something I do. How much cash do you need? I don't care if you have $20 million. I want everyone to start with zero. And that probably seems crazy, but I want you to learn first. And so learn and then start trading with a small amount of risk using $5,000 or $10,000 of capital and get good at it. And then when you're successful, then increase your risk a little bit. So if you're risking $50 a trade and you're successful, go to $100 per trade. Get successful at that level. And then go to $200 of risk per trade. And the reason you do that is because your enemy is your emotion, right? Everyone can pick great stocks when the market's closed, but to do it when the market's open and your emotions are involved, that's harder. And so there's a lot of tricks that I teach people to use to overcome their emotions. And one of the things is to not take too much risk. All right, so let's just continue along here. I know there's probably a few questions I've missed, but I'll try to come back. So why would you want me to teach you this? Mistakes cost you time and money. As I said at the top, it took me 8 years to learn, and I lost a lot making mistakes. My 30 years of trading means I'm an expert on overcoming mistakes because I've made them all. When I tell people, oh, you did this wrong, I'm not doing that because I'm being critical. I'm doing that because I've made every mistake countless times. I'm good at overcoming them because I've still been able to do this for 30 plus years. Because I don't teach a lot of people, I can give people a little bit more personalized education. You're only being trained by me. I don't have a bunch of staff that do my teaching. All the teaching is done by me. And so you're getting not only the benefit of me having traded for a long time, but I've also taught for a long time. And people tell me I'm a really good teacher. And hopefully you find that from this webinar, is that I explain things in a simple, easy to follow. There's not a bunch of lingo. And there's never been a question that I couldn't answer. And if I can't answer something, I'll go figure it out. So I've done this a long time. I've got the experience. So when someone says, I want to use a 3% trailing stop, I'll tell you why that's a bad idea. Because a lot of other people will teach that concept. It's a terrible idea. Don't ever do that. But I'm not only going to tell you don't do it, I'm going to explain why. Okay? The cost of learning how to trade with what I teach is so much less than other careers. I've got kids, I've got daughters who are in, university age, and, university is way more expensive, and you come out and still working at Starbucks. This is something that you can start your own trading business or manage your own portfolio, and it's $3,500. That's like not even one semester in university. And ultimately, this is about, to me, finding freedom. That's why I trade. I love being able to travel. I love being able to work from home. I, don't miss my kids' soccer games or whatever, because I've got the freedom to do what I want when I want. And that has a lot of value. I was actually watching my son's hockey game before I came here. Even to teach this, I timed it so that I could watch his hockey game. And he got a hat trick just before I left. So that was awesome. My goal is to make trading easy. It's not simple, right? It takes time to learn, but, it is simple to learn, but it is not easy because human beings make emotional mistakes. And so I'm there to give you what I've learned in overcoming yourself. And, I love getting emails from people saying, hey, I quit my job and I trade now. And those are the kind of things I love to hear. That's the reward I get for doing this. And my goal is to make anyone that wants to put in the effort able to trade or manage their own investments, that sort of thing. You have to do the work. I can't make you read the book. I can't make you watch the videos. So if you're not going to do that, don't take my course. It's a waste of money. But if you're willing to put in that effort, anyone can do this, and it's just a matter of time. Ultimately, no one cares more about your money than you. You can hand your money off to someone else, but they've got 200 clients. Even if you do that, even if you have a broker, someone you really like helping you, I think everyone should know what they're doing. And you should know how to manage risk. You should know how to avoid nightmare stocks like we've seen so many of this year. I've been in cash almost entirely through the year, outside of day trading, but at nighttime, I'm in cash because the market's been going down. I only have wanted to be a short-term trader through that, but now the market's starting to turn. Now it's starting to buy longer-term positions. I bought 2 longer-term positions last week. I know a lot about trading. I've been around for a long time. When I started trading, I called a broker. There was no internet. I talked to someone on the phone. I used to draw charts out by hand. So it gives you a sense of how long I've been doing this. With these courses, you will learn how to be a better trader faster. And my goal is to help you avoid pain and pursue profits. So the process, if you want to register for the course, there's a very simple process. You go to the Stockscores website, go to Trader Training, learn how to trade, and you sign up right there. If you want to purchase the Active Trader course, click on Order Active Trader. When you do that, it'll put all this in. You'll notice here it says $300 yearly. Okay, you get 6 months free with the course. And when you register, it'll show that the yearly cost is $300, but you don't pay that at the start. You don't pay that until 6 months down the road. So the cost is $3,495, and again, that's Canadian dollars. So those of you in the US, take that about 2/3, a little less, a little more than 2/3. And then your annual fee to maintain access to the tools is $300. You don't have to use the market scan tool if you're a day trader. You can just use the other tools that we have, but many like to. But that's an optional fee later on. You don't have to keep that going unless you want to use the market scan. So anyway, you do all that. You go to final checkout, put in all your information, and away you go. If you want to take the investor course, it's right there. If you want to watch a video on what the investor course is, if you want to learn more about that, it's all explained here. But you can also watch a little video. Same for the Active Trader course. There's a little video for that. And do that before Thursday next week, Thursday, November 10th, 11 p.m. And that will give you all of that bonus educational material that I'm doing starting November 14th for free. Now, if you want to do the mentorship course, you have to first sign up for the Active Trader course. So you do all that online. And then you're going to go to upcoming events and register for the mentorship. I don't have it here yet, but it'll be up probably Monday. And you can do that there. If you are someone who took my course 10 years ago, 2 years ago, and you want to repeat the overview classes the week of November 14th, you can do that. It's only available if you've already done the Investor and Active Trader courses. It's $195 Canadian, and that'll get you that week of classes. Here's all the dates and times for the week of classes. And again, if you just buy the course now, you don't have to pay this. It's free. But if you bought the course 3 years ago, that's your repeat fee, $195. All right. I think that's about it. Again, there's the details. You can go to that address, stockscores.com/learn, or you can just go to Trader Training area on the website and you'll see it all there. And deadline for registering is Thursday, November 10th at 11 p.m. Pacific time for the bonus live training. I think we'll wrap it up. There's my email address. If you have any questions, you can email me. And hope to see many of you join me for the classes starting the 14th. If you have any questions leading up to that, I don't do high pressure sales. It's not my thing. Just fire me an email and I'll help you decide what course is right for you or whether it fits with your expectations, that sort of thing. So just fire me an email, tylerb@stockscores.com. I'm going to wrap it up. If I've missed some questions, you can always email me. I just want to keep this a little bit shorter. We've already gone fairly long here. So I'll wrap it up there. Hope you've enjoyed it and trade well. See you soon.